The movie opens on a warm, sunny morning in 1969. Birds are flying through the sky while singing in their beautiful voices. Just then, we see a scientist with a capsule ahead of him. It looks like a rocket or a spaceship that is soon about to take off. The scientist, whose name happens to be David, is joined by his adorable golden retriever, Buddy. The two are the best of friends and never leave each other's side. Buddy is a very cheerful dog who is about to get launched into space for research purposes. Sometime later, David calls for Buddy, who appears to be overjoyed. However, when Buddy learns about going to space, he is very nervous. After sensing the dog's anxiety, David tells him that he's going to be alright. David then goes on to tell Buddy that he is a brave dog with many superpowers. He claims to have created the capsule with Buddy's safety in mind. Hearing all this, Buddy starts to feel better and is now ready to leave Earth. Before carrying out the mission, David assures Buddy that as soon as the capsule comes back, he will come to get him. After that, he promises to give Buddy a coin locket with his name engraved on it. Finally, Buddy is ready to go, with David assuring him that he will soon become a well-known celebrity. In the end, they hug each other tightly and kiss goodbye, hoping to see each other again soon. Eventually, Buddy is launched into space while being strapped inside the capsule. Unfortunately, soon after leaving Earth, the capsule malfunctions and shocks Buddy, mutating his DNA and bestowing him with superhuman abilities. On top of that, due to some technical issues, Buddy fails to establish contact with David as well. The capsule eventually crashes out of orbit, leaving Buddy frozen and floating in space. This event then causes him to enter a 50-year coma, only to awaken on Earth, where man and animal have become antagonistic. Humans loathe animals such as dogs and cats, and stray animals roaming the streets of suburban Glenfield face harsh penalties. After a prolonged period of time, the capsule travels to a very cold location where Buddy is still frozen and unconscious. When he finally comes to his senses, he finds himself in a trash can. Buddy is utterly stunned by this and has absolutely no idea what has happened to him. Finally, he emerges from the trash can, still carrying his little lunch bag. Scared and anxious, Buddy starts to call out to David. Even after searching for a long time, David is still nowhere to be found. Buddy tries to ask around for help, but he's shocked to learn that people in this town hate dogs. Needless to say, Buddy is taken aback by this. He doesn't know what to do or where to go. As a last resort, Buddy tries to dial David's number from his watch. However, that's when he finds out that he is actually in the future. He discovers that whatever happened to him actually occurred 50 years ago. This is all too much for a dog, so Buddy is terrified. At that moment, Buddy discovers his capsule's hatch. However, much to his dismay, the rest of the capsule is missing. He then finds a half-eaten carrot before him, but pays no heed to it. A while later, Buddy notices a police car and follows it in search of assistance. He begins to run after the police van. At one point, the van abruptly stops. When Buddy tries to get in the vehicle, he sees another dog inside a cage. Buddy is terrified to see the dog in chains. Scared, the other dog begs Buddy for help. Buddy tries his hardest, but is unable to assist him. He just can't seem to open the cage. Just then, a police officer emerges from the van and transports the dog to the police station. Buddy finally knows what's going on and understands that Glenfield is a horrific place for animals. People dislike strays and will report them if they see one. Everyone thinks that dogs and cats are very dangerous to humans. Because of all this, Buddy is terrified. Just as he's thinking of ways to escape, Buddy is suddenly attacked by a cat. The black cat is notoriously known as TurboCat, who believes himself to be a superhero. After some time, TurboCat takes Buddy to a museum, where he has built himself a robot called Sinclair. While under TurboCat's custody, Buddy claims that he is not a normal dog. However, TurboCat doesn't believe him. In order to prove his claim, Buddy proceeds to explain everything to TurboCat, who goes on to check his CCTV cameras. There, he sees Buddy through the dustbin camera. Finally believing everything, TurboCat informs Buddy that he is now in a place where people despise animals and that the police officer he just encountered is named Peck. Buddy is astounded to hear all about mankind's atrocities. Despite all this, he still has hope of David finding him. While reminiscing about his past, Buddy tells TurboCat about how much David adored him. Because of this, he is adamant about finding his owner. Later on, Buddy tells TurboCat that if he somehow finds the entire capsule, David will surely come for him. However, since he can't do it alone, he will require TurboCat's assistance. Much to his dismay, TurboCat refuses to assist Buddy in locating the spaceship. Trying to find the space capsule could put them in danger because according to TurboCat, humans are evil. Buddy then tries to persuade TurboCat into helping him and even pledges to prove that humans can be nice. However, the latter simply asks Sinclair to kick him out. From then on, Buddy tries to bring milk for TurboCat in order to get his help. Sadly, no one assists him in doing so. After some time, Buddy ends up discovering the lunchbox that David had packed for him. Thankfully, the lunch actually contained a bottle of milk. When Buddy sees the milk, he immediately gives it to TurboCat. He then continues to request assistance in locating his capsule, which TurboCat hesitantly agrees to. Sinclair tries to help Buddy as well. Together, he and TurboCat discover the rabbit who had left the half-eaten carrot near Buddy's hatch. It turns out that the rabbit is actually TurboCat's crush, Cassidy. Since the carrot was very close to Buddy's hatch, Sinclair speculates that Cassidy may be aware of Buddy's capsule. Seeing that this mission might bring Cassidy closer to him, TurboCat decides to assist Buddy. Just as they walk out of the museum, the two get caught by Peck. The ruthless police officer instantly grabs a massive weapon and tries to catch them while assuming them to stray. That's when Felix aka TurboCat and Buddy flee from the scene. TurboCat wishes to escape alone, but Buddy joins him nonetheless. On the other hand, the police van continues to pursue them. Right then, Buddy learns that his first superpower is the ability to run faster than the police car, allowing him to save Felix. When Peck sees this, he can't believe his eyes because he's never seen a dog run as fast as Superman. After some time, Felix and Buddy begin searching for Cassidy and assisting one another. They then go shopping. Sadly, they get trapped inside the supermarket. While they try to get out, a little girl sees him. She gets nervous after seeing the animals and tries to call her father. Surprisingly, it turns out that her father is none other than Peck. Now sensing that they're going to get caught, Buddy begins to make an innocent face at the girl. Seeing Buddy's cute face, the girl immediately melts and walks away quietly. This little moment helps Buddy convince Felix that some humans still love animals. In response, TurboCat recalls Peck coming to town and telling everyone that animals are mean and dangerous, and locking them all up. Just as the two are debating, a light flashed at them. Suddenly, police officers appear in the supermarket. Felix and Buddy try to hide, but they're caught by Peck again. The two hold their breaths, expecting the worst. However, it turns out that the man before then isn't Peck. It's simply a cutout, and behind it is a small fish. Needless to say, both Buddy and Felix are stunned. Seeing their perplexed faces, the fish goes on to explain that he is a member of the Guard, which stands for Glenfield Underground Animal Rights Division. He then claims to be the Tactical Operations Chief. A while later, the fish, whose name is Bullion, introduces Tinker, his public relations specialist. Suddenly, Cassidy appears beside them out of nowhere. It turns out that they're all members of Guard, and aim to protect stray animals. Right at that moment, Peck arrives at the scene and sees the animals inside the supermarket. He tries to investigate, but Felix and the entire team run away. They all then hide in Felix's museum. There, Buddy asks Cassidy to assist him in locating his capsule. Cassidy agrees to the request and shows him a Guard video. The video shows that in 1969, David had not only trained Buddy, but several other animals. He had experimented with other highly trained animals and sent them all into outer space. After showing the video, Cassidy tells Buddy that he is completely unaware of David's plan. It turns out that all the space capsules contained a special crystal named hyperlithium in them. These crystalline materials are very powerful. Because of this, the main mission of Guard is to find the space capsule and retrieve the hyperlithium in order to protect Glenfield's animals. A while later, Cassidy introduces their chief scientist, Todd, who has just entered the museum. The small animal walks inside with a robot that is powered by hyperlithium. Guard plans to construct several similar robots in order to fight Peck and mankind as a whole. They want to destroy humans and get their freedom back. After revealing their entire plan, Cassidy invites Buddy to join the Guard and help them save all the stray animals who have been locked up. She believes that Buddy can accomplish anything since he's no less than a hero. Just then, the team finds out Peck has found their space capsule. The entire team is stressed and doesn't know what to do. The only way to retrieve it is to steal it from Peck. However, Cassidy claims that no pet has ever gone in and out of the scary pound. That's when Felix says that he will try to retrieve the capsule. He decides to go to the police station by himself. Thankfully, Buddy arrives just in time to help him. He claims that it was Cassidy who sent him there. Not long after, the two end up getting into lots of trouble. Felix is certain that he's going to get caught as he and Buddy wreck the entire police station. The two are about to reach the capsule, but unfortunately, Peck ends up catching them. Soon after, Peck transports Buddy, Felix, and the already imprisoned dog to an even stricter place. It turns out that the dog, whose name is Victor, had previously bitten his owner, which ultimately caused him to end up at the pound. While traveling, Buddy starts to miss David and talks about how the latter raised him with so much love. Just then, all three of the animals notice the same girl from before. They finally learn that she is Peck's daughter. The little girl, whose name is Alex, doesn't like her father's attitude toward animals. Peck thinks that animals are not good for the town. However, the little girl truly believes that animals are not as bad as her father believes. Soon after, Cassidy arrives at the scene and saves all the animals. However, this little escapade ends up causing a massive accident. During the incident, all of the animals save Alex, which ends up strengthening her belief in them. In return, Alex assists them in hiding from her father. Additionally, this event causes Buddy to demonstrate his second power, which happens to be super strength. News about him carrying a massive car to save Felix spreads all around. On the other hand, footage of Felix helping Alex surfaces. This causes people's perceptions of animals to change. All the citizens begin to think that the two are incredible animals. Eventually, this makes Buddy learn that he has finally become the hero he's always wanted to be. Once they return to the museum, Sinclair admires Buddy as well. During all this, Buddy manages to bring the capsule inside the museum. Now that his video has been shown on TV, Buddy thinks that David will come for him. Everything starts to go just as planned. A few days later, Alex arrives outside the museum and expresses her gratitude towards Felix and Buddy. She then offers to help them with their mission. Later, Buddy and Felix return to the museum, where Todd continues to work on his mission. During a discussion, Todd disagrees with Cassidy, who believes that humans would never use hyperlithium on animals. Buddy agrees with Cassidy, but Todd claims that all humans are selfish. He even goes as far as to tell Buddy that David only sent him to outer space. He claims that David only used him and never loved him. In order to defuse the situation, Sinclair asks Buddy to take a stroll in the neighborhood. Maybe he'll get lucky and find David. Buddy agrees with the idea and walks out. However, he ends up discovering another capsule while searching for David's house. Buddy and Felix quickly begin to follow the truck with the capsule in it. Midway through, the two find out that they've been trapped. When the two finally return, they come to find out that Peck has already caught the entire team. The museum is now under custody. Only Tinker, Cassidy, and Bullion had managed to escape. Now enraged, Cassidy yells at Buddy and Felix for being so careless. They all believe that Peck has captured Victor, Todd, and the hyperlithium. Upset and scared, Cassidy claims that it's all over now. However, that's when Buddy and Felix promise that they will make things right. The two immediately start searching for the capsule. Soon after, Buddy and Felix sneak inside the museum. There, they see Peck working on something. The two try to catch him. However, everything fails when the two get captured by Victor instead. It turns out that the person in front of them isn't Peck. It's actually Todd. He's the mastermind behind all this. When he sees Buddy's confused face, Todd starts to explain how he had to be the one who went into space. However, David chose a dumb dog like Buddy instead. As time passed, Todd understood the full effects of hyperlithium. This element could actually give dogs superpowers. Hyperlithium is the reason why Buddy is so powerful now. However, this element is only useful to prolong the life of cats. Todd always thought this was unfair, so he waited for Buddy to come back. Eventually, Felix and Buddy find out that Peck was never the villain. It was actually Todd and his minion, Victor, who had planned all this to set them up. Right at that moment, Peck enters the museum. But before he can even say anything, Todd shoots him with a laser beam extracted from hyperlithium. Surprisingly, this causes Todd to control Peck. Todd administering hyperlithium on Peck forces him to behave like a dog. It turns out that Todd wishes to use hyperlithium to rule over humans. He wishes to exterminate humans. Hearing this, Felix thinks that they're doomed. However, Sinclair arrives just then and helps free both Buddy and Felix. He helps the two escape, but sadly ends up getting wrecked himself. When Felix sees Sinclair's condition, he is heartbroken. Before the two escape, Todd tells Buddy that humans never loved. He claims that even David just abandoned Buddy to eternal sleep. Hearing this, Buddy is deeply hurt and so, he runs away crying. Just then, Alex sees her father like a dog, and gets incredibly upset. She now thinks that her father was correct after all. On the other hand, Buddy silently cries in a trash can. Seeing his condition, Felix feels really bad and starts to encourage Buddy. He wants to prove to Alex and all the other humans that animals are not as bad as they think. When Buddy finally agrees, Felix dresses him up as a superhero and tells him that he is more than just a dog. He is actually a star dog who is extremely strong and can run immensely fast as well. Buddy feels motivated when he hears this. Soon, the two get ready to fight Todd. They are now Stardog and Turbocat who are ready to fight evil. The two super pets eventually make a plan to defeat Todd. On the other hand, Todd has already wielded hyperlithic powers against his opponents. He starts attacking the whole city with Victor as his supervisor. The fight finally starts with Bullion attacking Victor. Buddy and Felix join in right then, and attack Victor with all their might. Todd, on the other hand, uses his massive robot against Buddy. The robot is a hyper-lithium powerhouse which is basically unstoppable. Felix comes in and saves Buddy right in the nick of time. But unfortunately, he cannot defeat Todd, who is way too strong now. The latter is about to eliminate Buddy and Felix. Thankfully, Cassidy arrives at the scene and saves them both. She then shatters the roof over Todd, causing the sun to shine down on him. This causes Todd to get sleepy because cats nap when exposed to sunlight. Todd dozes off inside the robot. Felix, who is also a cat, feels sleepy, but Buddy helps him stay awake. Soon, Todd wakes up and his robot becomes uncontrollable. However, due to the machine's intense power, the evil cat gets ejected from the robot. On the other hand, Alex starts inquiring about her grandfather's whereabouts. She believes that he is the only one who can stop all this. Meanwhile, everyone is afraid of Todd's robot because it is still active. It continues to destroy the city, so Felix enters inside it. He then transports the robot away from town. Emotionally, Felix apologizes to all his friends and claims that this is the only way to save Alex and the city. However, if the robot gets destroyed, Felix will perish with it as well. Seeing as there's no other option left, Cassidy agrees. But deep down, she's depressed about Felix. Before leaving, Felix claims that this is Alex's only chance to see that pets are not harmful to humans. He wants to prove that they actually adore people. Finally, Felix tells Buddy that David adores him and wishes him all the best. He claims that David only sent Buddy in the capsule because he trusted him. Finally, Felix says that David is probably still waiting for Buddy. Buddy is overjoyed to hear all this, but he can't ignore the fact that Felix is in danger. Just then, Cassidy learns Buddy has another superpower, which happens to be flight. This power finally comes in handy when Buddy takes Felix into the sky and destroys the hyperlithium bomb safely. Much to everyone's relief, Felix and Buddy are unharmed. When Felix comes back safely, Cassidy immediately runs up to him and hugs him tightly. She finally confesses that she loves him. Meanwhile, Peck returns to his normal state after Todd's hyperlithium bomb is destroyed. Once conscious, he hugs Alex tightly. Soon after, Alex tells her father how Felix and Buddy saved her and their town. She then goes on to explain that animals are not dangerous to humans. Hearing all this, Peck finds out his error, and so does everyone else. All the citizens in the city applaud Guard for their bravery. Right at that moment, Alex's grandfather arrives at the scene and informs everyone that animals are not dangerous to them. In reality, it turns out that Alex's grandfather is none other than the great scientist David, who has been waiting for his dog, Buddy. Buddy quickly recognizes his owner because of the gold locket David had promised to give him if they ever met again. At present, David is in a wheelchair due to his old age. Excited and emotional, Buddy hugs David tightly and the two rejoice together. They finally reunite, and are overjoyed. Soon, a month passed by, and everything is now back in place. After checking Todd and Victor into suitable new homes, Peck resigned from his job and went on to reopen Felix's old museum. At present, Alex helps her dad out in the cafe, with a little help from a guard. Tinker makes coffee while a newly reformed Sinclair goes to serve it. Tinker is now the chief scientist, with Bullion still working as the tactical operations officer. Moving on, Buddy is now in the company of David, who regularly takes him for a walk. Everything seems great. The film finally concludes with all the animals getting ready for their next mission.